Today let's talk a bit more about shock states, especially some subtleties and specificities that they involve. When you use remove shock, you get 1000 resist in every shock state but pull for 7 seconds. Every class has 2 chains of remove shock from which you can choose. Assassins, for example, have Cyclone Slash and Shadow Illusion. Sorcerers have Time and Space Jump and the Curse of All Roots. Every class just has 2 skills. You can choose to use that chain or use another skill instead, or no skill at all. However, using that chain will cause the buff to be removed. So what that means is, if you're a sorcerer, for example, you can use the teleport forward jump after you remove shock, but if you do so, you will lose the 1000 resist buff and basically be much more vulnerable. So if you're fighting a class that doesn't have many stuns, knockdown and all, such as a cleric or bard for example, it can be wise to use it. Otherwise, you need to be very sure to have some defensive CDs to make up for it. So I play Sin for example, and seeing somebody use the remove shock buff is like heaven to me. I usually have at least 1 stun ready for him, and he's most likely gonna get stun locked without having a chance to use any other skill beside his remove shock chain. I'll be discussing this into more detail in a dedicated video, but for now, just keep that in mind and think about how keeping your buff or using the chain will affect the fight. There are 3 stuns that cannot be resisted, no matter what. Even if you have remove shock coupled with UD, you won't resist them. Those are Apply Daily Poison of Assassin, which is 2% chance on each attack, Determination of Glad, which is 10% chance on each attack if their HP is below 10%, and Abyssal Wave, the stun that commanders have, that stuns 100%. All 3 of them pop remove shock, but it's effective only on the first 2. Whether you should use it or not depends on the situation. It's usually short stuns, so it may not be worth it to use remove shock. The third one, however, cannot be removed. Remove shock pops, but if you use it, it will not remove your stun. You're stunned for 5 seconds and you have to wait them out. And don't waste your remove shock on it, as you'll just end up with 1 minute CD and 2 seconds left on the remove shock buff, if you ever pass the first 5 seconds. As quickly mentioned in the previous video, the Fang Strike chain of Assassin applies the same effect as a knockback, but no icon is shown. This means that you can get interrupted from casting a skill as well as using skills if a Sin is hitting you with it. It works like a knockback and not like a pull, as I mentioned in the previous video. So it works with resistance to knockback, hence why it doesn't or hardly works on remove shock and UD for example. If you play Sin, you'll probably notice that the game has problem refreshing it, and your opponent can seem very buggy for the animation of the knockback. However, if it did knock them back, they cannot use any skill for the whole time of the animation. There's one last thing to mention about the remove shock buff. It's not because you have it that you cannot get shocked. Not only do the 3 skills previously mentioned get over remove shock, it's also possible to get shocked either because your opponent increased their shock penetration, or because they used the skill right before you remove shock, which caused their skill to be counted before the stats increase that your remove shock buff gives, but still applied after you use remove shock. The timing needs to be exact though, otherwise the skill will either be applied before you use remove shock and will then be removed when you do so, or it will be applied after you remove shock, which will most likely cause it to fail the shock. However, it's not because you have remove shock that you're 100% sure not to get shocked. Because of the way Aion is designed and what you may know as RNG, there's always a slight chance that a shock be applied even if you have more than 1000 resist in the given shock. I hope you managed to keep up to here. That's more or less all you need to know about shock states to properly understand them. Have fun in Aion, and till next time!